Good evening. This is the story of a time I found myself outside of a remote base in the deserts of New Mexico I got just a little too close to. I'll tell you right now, it is not Area 51. That place is pretty obvious when you get close to what it is. This was a base a bit off the freeway while trying to follow a GPS to a town off of the beaten path. I hope you enjoy. Back in my heyday, I was fairly well known on another channel for my gameplays a few years ago. I was an up-and-coming channel in the Let's Play sphere back when that was just getting big, and was getting invited to a few events around Texas, my home state. As such, I got to know a good number of people in the industries around that, and met quite the collection of characters. One of which was the guy who went on to be on a syndicated television show and was well known in his circle, enough to be a celebrity in his own right. Funnily enough, me and this guy, let's call him Rob, went to the same college and met right before we both took off around the same time, so naturally we traveled to the same conventions together. We tore up the Texas scene and eventually started getting calls from out-of-state conventions. One of these was a convention in Las Vegas. With summer break coming in, we both decided it would be best to make this into a road trip since neither of us, nor his girlfriend, had been out that way before. So we buckle up and hit the road. Heading west, as soon as we left around the Austin area, we were met with miles and miles of wilderness. Short brush that is ubiquitous around Texas, and the eventual flat plains was surreal. It was refreshing to leave the low drone of the city and reach out into the expanses. We traveled through the state and ended up on the southern end of New Mexico, just along the border. Traveling with the sun, it was strange to look at the clock that said 9 in the evening and still see the same golden sunset we've had for the last 3 hours. The desert glowed gold with the last rays of light, and the occasional singular train reminding us that we were not alone was truly magical. Of course, like everything, we slowed down and let the sun finally sink behind the horizon, or around the disk we call Earth, whatever you believe. As it got dark, we pulled out the GPS and we found that we were hundreds of miles from civilization. After a long day of driving, we wanted nothing more than a warm bed and a nice hot shower before picking it back up again in the morning. But instead, we were just 3 people in a speeding car in the middle of nowhere. With each of us growing tired, we kind of got cranky and just wanted to find a place to stop. In doing so, we changed the GPS to lead us to a place off the highway. The closer, the better. With that nearest spot being only 40 minutes off the interstate, we decided to go for it. We turned down a dark desert road, which thankfully was still paved. Continuing down it until the only lights around us were the stars and the full moon above. Wanting to take a second and stretch our legs, we decided to stop the car and get out. After a few seconds, we heard a strange noise, kind of like a siren in the distance. Looking around, Rob's girlfriend pointed towards something in the desert. I saw strange lights, something similar to an airport in the middle of the night, those lights that they use on the runways. As we continued to stand outside and look, the lights slowly turned out one by one. As they did so, the siren quickly faded away, echoing through the hills. Feeling a bit unnerved, we slowly made our way back in as searchlights that stretched for miles began to scope around, looking for something. They flashed past us a few times before one stayed locked in on us. We decided to start the car again, but as we did so, a siren even closer and louder than before started back up again. The radio went crazy, and not really a static or a high-pitched squeal, but almost like a gurgling in your ear. It's strange, really. Just off the edge of the road, we saw figures moving towards us. Finally, Rob slammed on the gas, lurching us forward, the strange noise and spotlight still with us. The sensation moved my stomach as if I was just about to vomit everywhere involuntarily, like getting a stomach pump, but without feeling the vacuum tube. Rob looked as if he was going to pass out, his head hung backwards over the driver's seat, only focused on keeping his foot on the gas, and the car headed in a semi-straight fashion. With the light being the brightest thing in the sky, we thankfully had plenty of visibility on the road, but the strange sensation sapped any and all strength from us. Rob's girlfriend was knocked out in the passenger seat. He continued surging forward, the radio turning into a garbled mess, but the nausea persisted as the strange sound finally started fading away. As we cleaned up ourselves a bit, the low beat of helicopters was heard receding back to the base, and we found ourselves in the darkness once again. Apparently they followed us out that far, but in our hustle and chase with the strange radio and nausea, we couldn't even hear them. Rob's girlfriend woke up when we made it to the small town, and we crawled into bed, easily the most tired we've ever been. But yeah, the rest of the trip went well, and we really didn't talk about the whole situation after that. I think we were just afraid of what we ran into. But what do you think? It seems we stumbled near a government base, and they used a sonic weapon on us to scare us off or something. Have you ever had something like that happen to you before? Leave it down in the comment section below. I would love to read it. With that, I'll be back again next week with a brand new video. I hope you join me again.